The latest bombshell by former lawmaker Zaldico implicates the president's son, Congressman Sandro Marcos, in the flood control scandal, an allegation the lawmaker denies. Good morning, I'm Attorney Erin Jimeno. This is At the Forefront. The call for lawmaker Zaldico to return to the country grows louder as he implicates more officials in the flood control scandal. Some dismiss his statements as these were not made under oath, but others say it's worth looking into. On another front, Harry Roque, another critic of the Marcos administration, is prevented from flying to Vienna, where he is reportedly seeking asylum. Authorities from the Netherlands prevented him from leaving due to health concerns. Amid all the corruption issues, more massive anti-corruption protests will be held on Sunday at the Rizal Park and at the People Power Monument along EDSA and other parts of the country. Members of the Liberal Party are set to join the protests. We'll be speaking with their president, Erin Tañada. Good morning, Erin.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
Well, it's good to have you here, Erin, and to hear your thoughts on everything that's going on. So first, let's start with the latest release of Zaldico's series. Supposedly, he already named the president's son, Ilocos Norte Representative Sandro Marcos, as inserting at least 50 billion pesos over the course of 3 years. In his response, Congressman Marcos said that he denies the allegations, and then he also said that Zaldico is trying to destabilize the government in a bid to escape punishment for his crimes. Do these back and forth statements have any value to your call for accountability for groups like you, the Liberal Party?
Well, it does, but again, we also like to reiterate that Zaldico has to come home. Zaldico has to give his statement under oath, because if it will just remain as a video statement without him swearing that such an affidavit is true, or that what he's saying is true, then it just remains as a statement, and it will not be considered admissible in court. So it is important that Zaldico comes home. If he's really serious in holding people accountable, he should make himself available for questioning by the ICI, or if the independent commission filed by Senator Soto, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and Manay Laila is passed into law through that agency. No? It is important. And we feel that if this really is true, no, and he reiterates it under oath, then we should hold the people that he is implicating accountable.
Do you believe that there's a threat to his life? Kung ganun talaga siya, karaming alam na umaabot yung alam niya sa presidente at sa anak ng presidente and kay former Speaker Martin, do you think his life is really in danger?
It's hard to say. No, it's hard to say. If he knows a lot, it may be true that there may be a threat to his life. But again, if we are to hold people accountable based on the corruption that has happened in the country for the last, from 2016, 9 years, he was also a member of the House. And I'm sure he knows a lot, even during the time of the Duterte administration, how things were operating. Then he should spill the beans on everyone.
Well, you were also a former lawmaker. As a congressman, do you think may ability si Zaldico to make massive insertions? Let's say, yung mga 100 billion pesos, kasi kinonfirm ni Senator Ping Lacson na nandun naman talaga when they reviewed it. Pero for a lawmaker like Zaldico, kahit chairman siya ng Committee on Appropriations, from what you know, how Congress operates, kaya ba na isang tao lang katulad niya?
Well, it would need the approval of the Speaker. No, which is important because, like I said, if we look at the process of passing the General Appropriations Act, it is limited by time. And we know in the process of legislation, after it is after a piece passes through the committee, it goes back to plenary for second reading, and then it's introduced, it is debated upon, it is interpolated by members of the House, and after that period, there is the period of amendments. Now, if you allow 200 plus congressmen to amend the GAA based on their own parochial needs, it will not pass on time. Because remember, we're running all the way up to December. It has to go through the Senate. So they have this small committee that would accept, which is not part of the rules, because after you vote on second reading, you should not anymore amend the piece of legislation.
But in practice, may small committee talaga?
Yes, because this is where they process all amendments with that comes from the different congressmen.
So even during President Pinoy, Noynoy Aquino's time, may small committee talaga?
Yes, but I would like to mention even with that small committee, everybody was watching. The Department of Budget was watching if there were any insertions or what, and if that goes against the national expenditure program of the president. So there, that happens, to process all the amendments coming from the congressmen, and then they vote on it on third reading. Now, the problem here is that they do not see the final version with the amendments. Kasi naghahabol ng oras eh. Time-bound kasi yan eh. Kailangan may pasa by middle of October para maumpisahan na sa Senado yung deliberations.
Okay.
So, the Senate goes through.
Do you think dapat baguhin natin yung process din natin for budget deliberations so that hindi na nagmamadali or magkaroon ng transparency?
Kailangan talaga pag-aralan yung process of legislation. Kasi we are basing the time element based on the Constitution. Constitution says that the President gives the SONA on the opening of Congress, which is the fourth Monday of July. And then it is also stated in the Constitution, within 30 days after Congress opens, the President should submit its budget. So we're already down to, if the fourth of Monday of July is the fourth week of July, then August, it would be also 30 days after, around that time.
So kailangan talagang pag-aralan natin.
Then you have only 2 months, September, and then 1 month and a half.
But going back to Zaldico, so you're saying na dahil may small committee rin, to make that much insertions, like for example, 100 billion pesos, kaya ng isang tao? Or kailangan din ng alam ng speaker?
Kailangan na alam ng speaker. Importante dahil you would have to think that the speaker should be on top of whatever piece of legislation is being passed through the House.
And for the president to say na hindi niya alam yun, what does that say about his management of how the budget is passed?
I think, again, I feel that it's hard for the president to wash his hands on the budget process because the secretary of the budget should always be on top of this in order to inform the president what are the amendments that happened based on the budget that was submitted originally to Congress. So importante.
Arrests were already made last Monday against low-ranking DPWH officials. And the only other person with an arrest warrant was Zaldico.
Yes.
But so far, no politician or other high-ranking DPWH officials were arrested. Are you satisfied so far with the pace in which the flood control controversy is being handled?
Well, again, I understand the anger of our countrymen. I understand also their impatience. But we have to also look at it from the point of view of the ombudsman. Mahirap naman kung magsasampa lang kaagad sila ng kaso na hindi nila pinag-aaralan at hindi sigurado na mananalo. Kasi ayaw natin mangyari yung nangyari nung PDAF scam.
Yeah.
No? So we have a process which people in the streets don't understand, no? Hindi pwede mag-shortcut eh. At kung babalikan nga natin, yung nangyari nung dating administrasyon, yung shortcut nga sa war on drugs, kailangan patayin. Saan ang due process dyan? No? So I understand it, but we hope, no? There were statements made by the ombudsman that by this month, the next month, December na there will be other cases filed, and there will be people that would be detained.
Yeah. Well, the last time nga, tama ka na, nakakita kami ng big fish na talagang nakulong was during President Noynoy Aquino's time na meron tayong mga senators talaga na nakulong. But
Yes.
like you said, yung problema, years after, napakawalan naman sila. Are you worried that that might happen again this time around? Or baka wala at all na big fish na makulong?
Well, no. I think the administration knows and the ombudsman knows that if walang kaso na ma-file against high-level officials, lalong magagalit yung tao. Lalong mawawalan ng confidence sa sistema natin na ayaw naman natin mangyari.
Yeah. Well, just yesterday during the budget deliberations, Senator Cheese Escudero asked si Secretary Vince Dizon of the DPWH whether may na-feel ba siya at all before na kung nag-hesitate ba sila sa pag-file ng graft charges against former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, who's the cousin of the President. Do you think that based on what we're seeing so far, the way that the ICI was formed and the pace of investigations and now the Ombudsman, Boying Remulla, yung mga nagawa niya so far, do you think that there would be prosecutions even if it leads to the President's son, the President's cousin, or even to himself?
Again, if the evidence is there would be cases filed.
And you think, yun yung legal, pero practical, do you think that will really happen?
It depends on the evidence eh. Ang mahirap kasi dito, kung magsasampa na tayo ng kaso at alam natin, is this for publicity purposes lang, at alam natin at the end of the day, madidismiss, baka mukhang hindi tama yon. But I don't know how the ombudsman thinks, no? It was during his administration as Secretary of Justice na sinabi dapat yung mga kasong if-file sa korte, may certainty na mananalo.
They revised sa criminal rules of procedure.
Yes, hindi lang probability, but kailangan
cause.
certainty.
Yeah,
so he said that. So I don't know if he carries that all the way up to the ombudsman. Dahil yun nga, ang kalaban nga natin dito yung mabagal na proseso ng sistema ng hustisya dito sa ating bansa.
During President Noynoy Aquino's time, yung thrust niya was tuwid na daan. Tsaka sinasabi niya lagi, yung tagline niya was, kung walang korap, walang mahirap.
Yes.
Do you believe that during his time, na-curb niya yung corruption under his administration?
Well, I think the facts would show that the credit rating agencies abroad and even Transparency International would rate our country higher than the country's rating now. So I think he was able to project that he was able to curb corruption. Mahirap naman i-guarantee na zero corruption, no, 'di ba? Ang laban parati dito is paano natin i-minimize ang corruption para magkaroon ng kumpiyansa. May confidence ang mga iba't ibang bansa sa ating bansa para mag-invest.
Yeah.
And I think the flood control issue or even the other infrastructure projects that are ghost or that are substandard now affects the confidence of investors coming in. Dahil, maglalagay nga ako ng pera sa inyong bansa, pero baka magnakaw lang, manakaw
And now
lang.
with the issue din sa LOA, Letters of Authority ng BIR, lumalabas na rin, may corruption din there. So, of course, foreign investors, they're going to be taxpayers, no? But, Congressman Erin, nung time mo, na congressman ka sa under Pinoy's administration, nakita mo ba na na-minimize talaga yung kickback scheme din? Kasi ang may nagsabi dati that then DPWH Secretary Babe Singson
Yes.
was able to limit the kickbacks to just 10%
Yes.
of the project cost.
Yes.
Totoo ba na nagawa niyo yun? Or how was he able to limit
Well,
that?
I think Sec Babes would be in a better position to answer that. But based on my 3 years kasi ako kasama sa administration from 2010 to 2013. I didn't sit anymore from 2013 to 2016. Ang sabi ang pinush ni Babes, dapat ito yung agency-approved amount, no? Anything above that, no, dapat i-reject. So I think he took into consideration whatever pero alam niya kung ano yung sobra, no? Dahil maapektuhan na talaga yung proyekto at hindi totoo naman yan. So he would always put an agency-approved amount, no, that should be accepted. And I think that's how they controlled corruption in the
so
DPWH.
kahit mga congressman hindi makapalag.
Hindi.
Well, during the time of President Duterte, former President Duterte, parang bumaba ang support for the Liberal Party candidates or those identified as yellows or pinks. And it seems that the results of the 2019 midterm elections reflected this. If Pinoy was successful in his anti-corruption efforts, why do you think that is? Like, ganun yung naging showing for support. But before you answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront, and we continue our conversation with Liberal Party President Erin Tañada. Erin, during the time of former President Rodrigo Duterte, parang bumaba yung support for the Liberal Party candidates and those identified as yellows or kakampinks. The results of the 2019 midterm elections seem to reflect this. Why do you think that is? Kung naging successful naman si Pinoy doon sa laban niya against corruption during his admin?
Well, again, we have to look, is corruption really the issue that the voters were looking at in 2019? Kasama ako sa 2019 halalan sa Ocho Diretso. Of course, talo nung 2019. The surveys would always say that it's prices, its salary, no? Corruption in the list of issues that people look at was ranked number 6. So even if you've done a good job in corruption, but you have, well, the people don't feel the economic development that was happening during Pinoy's time, there will always be a problem. Number 2, there has to be also an understanding that kung minsan ang voters natin naghahanap ng quick action. No? So dahil yung pagbaba ng presyo, maging ginhawa yung buhay nila, mahabang proseso yan dahil ang ekonomiya natin is trickle-down economics. No? Pero meron ibang mga issue na nararamdaman ng ating mga mamamayan na maapekto sa buhay nila. So, nakita ni President Duterte yan. Ano yung nakikita? Crime,
yung peace and order.
So, dito siya pumasok.
Kaya, do you think that's a reason why up until matapos ni President Rodrigo Duterte yung term niya, napakataas ng approval rating niya?
Yes. And this is dangerous because yung hinahanap nga, yung shortcut method.
Do you think yung priorities ng mga Pinoy nagbago na tumaas na yung anti-corruption sa mga priorities nila when looking for public officials?
I don't know if it can be translated in the 2028 elections, but if you will hold a survey now, corruption has gone up in the surveys to at least number 2. It is still prices, so hinahanap pa rin yung mga tao yung mababang presyo para sa kabuhayan nila, no? Corruption has gone up because it affects them. Now, will that will this be sustained all the way up to 2028? We shall see. It will all depend on the cases that will be filed by the Ombudsman. Dahil kung walang i-file ang Ombudsman na satisfied yung mamamayan, no, lalong magagalit yan at mananatili yung usapin ng corruption sa mataas.
In top of mind ng mga
Top of
tao.
mind.
Vice President Sara Duterte on Tuesday said she is ready to assume the presidency should President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. step down. She said, quote, "There is no question to my readiness." But you said in a previous interview that you do not favor Vice President Sara to take over. Why is that?
Well, her track record in the Department of Education, no, and then questions on her integrity with regard to the confidential funds. So that's why there was an impeachment filed against Sara last December, and I think it will be filed again this coming February, as indicated by the Supreme Court that would be the period that would be allowed. So questions of accountability has not yet been answered with regard to the charges against Sara Duterte with regard to corruption and her stint as Secretary of Department of Education.
Well, just last week, maingay yung conversation about some sectors calling for Ramon S. Ang to be the caretaker daw should there be a change in leadership. But for the November 30 rallies, what would be the call of the Liberal Party?
Well, ilantad, ibalik, ikulong, at ipanalo.
Puro ay.
Yeah, 4 eyes. Ilantad pa rin yung mga sangkot sa korupsyon, no? Ibalik yung mga ninakaw nila, no? Forfeiture, voluntary if there are people who are willing to voluntarily return what they stole. Ikulong, no? Of course, hindi tama lang na ibalik nila yung mga ninakaw nila. Siyempre, dapat they are held accountable for what they did. They had violated laws. And of course, ipanalo ang mamamayan dahil one of the aspects of the corruption here is with regard to the political dynasties. Kaya meron nga rin kaming sinasabi, kailangan makialam, magtanong, at maningil.
Will you be conducting more rallies past November 30, after November 30?
Well, sabi nga nila, pag dating ng Pasko, ang hirap mag-mobilize. Pero, kung yung mga pinangako ng Ombudsman at ng ating Pangulo, no, na may kakasuhan at merong ipapakulong dahil alam naman natin non-bailable ang plunder, so 50 million and above, no? Importante na magawa yan. Dahil kung hindi, pagpasok ng Enero, and we are moving towards the 40th commemoration of EDSA in February of 2026, baka lalong magalit uli ang taong bayan.
Well, lastly, because part siya nung news natin, nakakanyari lang last night din, yung kay former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, he was supposed to fly to Austria. He claims to seek an asylum there, but doctors did not clear him for travel. But here in the Philippines, he's wanted for qualified trafficking charges. And the Philippine government has already put out a request for an Interpol red notice to be issued against him. Do you think he can delay further his return to the Philippines, or do you believe his claim that this is political persecution?
I don't think it's political persecution. It's clear that Harry Roque had violated certain laws because the courts would not cancel his passport if there was no evidence to prove that he is liable. So we just wait on how the Interpol will act. I hope they act as soon as possible so that Harry has the opportunity also to defend himself in the proper forum. And the only proper forum is here in our country. If he has nothing to hide, then he should come home and face charges. No? One concrete example is Laila de Lima. She didn't run away. She faced it, and she was acquitted.
Yeah. But she had to suffer for 7 years.
Well,
yeah,
that's the choice that she made because she felt that she was innocent. And she went through the process, going through the Supreme Court, asking that there's no such crime as the Supreme Court, as the Department of Justice was claiming. But yun nga, natalo ko ng konti in a close vote yung petition sa Supreme Court, and yet she continued, believing that she was innocent. That's why she was.
Okay. Well, since we're already out of time, short question lang, and short answer. Is the Liberal Party already starting talks as to who you will field for 2028, the presidency?
Too early.
Too early.
Too
okay.
early.
Thank
Ask
you
me again middle of next year.
Oh, sige ha, we'll have you back here. Thank you so much for your time, Attorney Erin Tañada.
Thank
Such
you,
a pleasure
Attorney
to have
Karen.
you here. Malacanang is under siege in various fronts. The allegations made by Zaldico against the president and his son in connection with the flood control scandal, and criticisms on the perceived slow progress in the flood control probe. Will the Marcos administration hear the people's call for accountability in the November 30 rallies? Be informed, be insightful of the news. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Always stay at the forefront.